Let's bring in Hollywood divorce attorney David Glass for more on this. David?
People going through divorces are going through some of the hardest times of their lives, and a lot of what they're going through is emotional. And in any divorce, there's a huge sense of loss, and loss of relationship, of money, some friends.
Welcome to another episode of the Hourglass Podcast, where family law and psychology intersect. We're fortunate to have with us veteran singer, songwriter, session and touring musician, Terry Ilous. Terry has been in the music business for more than 40 plus years. He's been the frontman for the well-known band XYZ, and he was with the Great White Band for more than 9 years. Throughout his musical career, he has sold millions of records, and today continues to write and tour. In fact, he's toured with Ozzy Osbourne, Foreigner, Soundgarden, Ted Nugent, Alice Cooper, and many others. As a session singer, Terry has worked with David Bowie, Mariah Carey, Stevie Wonder, Rod Stewart, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, and too many others to count. It's an absolute honor to have Terry with us. So without further ado, Terry Ilous. Hey, Terry, what a pleasure it is to have you with us on the Hourglass Podcast today.
Thank you as well. Thank you so much.
Where are you? I understand you're on tour and you're traveling. What city are you in right now?
Last night I was in Nashville. Right now I'm in Miami, and I'm leaving tomorrow morning to go on a cruise. I have a contract with a company called Royal Caribbean, and I have a 1-year contract with them to be a headliner on their biggest ship, the Icon of the Seas. So I mean, myself and the band, of course. When I say I am, the band as well. Sorry.
Yeah.
And we have a contract for 1 year, and we perform as a headliner. We perform our own songs and songs we have been involved with, either touring with the original band, or so it's a lot of fun. It's a big show. It's a lot of fun.
It's great. And I mean, are the words from the Bon Jovi song true, that you know the name of the city by the bottle that you drink? Is that how you tell where you are?
Well, I don't drink, so I don't know about that. but yes, basically, the last few nights, the night before Nashville, I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, and then the night before I was in Chattanooga, and then I was in LA. I mean, it's just, yes, it gets confusing.
Sure.
What happens to me, the funny thing, David, is I go to an airport and the lady would say, "So where you heading today?" I'm like, "I have no idea." So I said, "Here's my name, just look." And she's like, and sometimes people will think I'm strange because they're like, "You don't know where you're going?" I'm like, "I do, but I travel so much, lady. Please help me. Here's my, oh yeah, here it is. It says Boston." Oh, okay.
Yeah, wow.
Sometimes I'm kidding, but I'm not. We're traveling so much, and I mean, of course, I should pay attention, but I have ADD, and I have what you call other issues, and a little bit of autism as well. So sometimes I forget things, and
Sure. Yeah, as long as you have people planning it and you get to where you got to go, it doesn't really matter how you get there, I guess.
Yeah, we usually have we're usually 2 or 3 traveling together, so it's easier. So we know where we're going, and I can rely on my tour manager. It's just because the truth is, it's because we get really tired. It's not so much. I mean, of course, the fact that we travel a lot, but it's really the fact that we are tired. We don't sleep much. The lack of sleep really affects your thinking.
Sure. Now, so on the Hourglass Podcast this season, we've been exploring music and the effect on the human psyche, especially during a breakup. And in my opinion, as a former psychologist and as a family law attorney, I think music can play a big part of getting through tough times. What's been your experience in terms of your own ability to get through tough times and how you used music?
Well, music can be a healer in a way that really music can take you to a certain a space in your head. You think about music, and you think about a song. It reminds you of a certain person, reminds you of a place where you have been before. Music is definitely a healer for a lot of people. For myself, music creates emotions. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's done research on that. A certain type of music can transport you to a good spot or a bad spot. People that listen to really harsh, heavy metal, dark music, I have a tendency to be much more aggressive in general than the people from the 60s who listen to the flower music and smoked weed. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So music is definitely a transport, I would say. It takes you somewhere and helps you through good times and bad times. I mean, I've talked to many people who come to me and said, "Thank you so much for writing that song. I was able to go through hard times because of that song," and it touches me all the time because I as a songwriter, I'm like, wow, this is pretty deep, But in fact, someone said that to me last night. Someone said, "Oh, that song that you wrote, meant so much for me," and I'm okay. I mean, I appreciate that, but I have also approached other songwriters myself, other well-known performers, and told them how I felt about a certain song. In fact, as a singer, when you sing a song, you get emotional. Well, as a listener, you get emotional as well. We share the same emotion, tears. It's hard to sing, and it's hard to listen for you.
Right. What was the song that the person spoke to you about the other night that they appreciated you for writing it?
It's a song called "When I Find Love." It's a song I co-wrote in the 90s. When I Find Love, it says, "When I find love, let it be you." It's a beautiful line. I mean, if you're able to find love, and let it be you, meaning that person that's in front of you, it's amazing. Love is everywhere, and yet it's nowhere to be found. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say nowhere to be found, but it's not something you find just like that. So we all go through hard times, good times, and going through life with a loved ones is a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Now, have you ever had a song with a past girlfriend that was your song? The two of you had a song. You go through a breakup. Can you listen to that song if it comes on the radio or it's on the stereo?
Yeah, of course. I wrote a song for my first wife, Jennifer. That was released on my first album. The song did very well. It was on MTV and all that stuff. It's called "What Keeps Me Loving You." Because we used to fight so much, but we used to reconnect all the time. And I wrote, "Every time I walk away, I can't be free. Tell me why I never stay where I belong." Because there was a conflict when you're 20 something years old. You're going through a conflict where you're asking yourself, well, is the ass green, the green, the what's the expression? Is it greener on the other side?
Right.
So you're 20 something, you're tempted, and of course. So that's what I wrote the song about, and then I look around and I come back and said, how come I never stay where I belong, which is with you.
Right.
But you ask yourself as well the same question: is it really? Should I really stay with you? It's a conflict, it's an eternal conflict. Some people have more of a conflict than others. And those are the lucky ones. I always believe that some people find a person and they know it's the right one and they don't look around and it's it. This is it forever. My parents were like that. They were married for almost 60 years, which is fantastic. My grandparents the same way. Well, I've always had a problem with that, unfortunately.
Right.
And I've always asked myself, is she the right one? Is she the right one? Well, she is. No, she's not. It's a terrible conflict. And it's terrible for myself and also terrible for the other person as well. Eventually, when you really put your mind into it and you grow, you have to grow up. Eventually, you realize that the person in front of you is the right person.
Right. Right. There's I mean, I have two adult daughters and then two younger boys, and I've told the daughters they're not allowed to get married until they turn 30. They're both dating people right now, and I can't control how things move, but I know myself when I was in my 20s and getting married, I had too many doubts, just the way you explained it, just right there.
Yes. Finding, I mean, again, David, for some people, it's love. Love comes easy. It's really easy. They find the person and that's it. And God bless them. I mean, I really, to be honest with you, I envy them actually, because I've always had a conflict. I love someone, I meet someone, I like the person, and all of a sudden I look around and I'm like, you know, I think I'm the best boyfriend, but the worst husband. so,
Right.
But as you get older, as I get older, I was able to um, to get better at it and spend more time with the right people. Yeah. And that's a good thing. You know, I think it came with, to be honest with you, when my daughter came in the picture, I realized what true love was all about when my ex-wife and I mean, she's not my ex yet, but we're going through eventually a divorce, but we've been separated for 7 years now. When her and I adopted a child 17 years ago, it changed everything for me. All of a sudden, I realized what love was. Before I could, for some reasons, I mean, I didn't realize what love was, even if love was next to me. But when I saw my daughter, you know, her eyes and her fragility and everything, I realized what love was. You know, so that I think having a kid changes a person quite a lot.
Sure. Sure. Now, you mentioned that you've been separated for something like 7 years. Right. How have you managed to co-parent, to continue to be parents to your daughter while not being a couple?
I met my wife, my current wife, when I went to high school. I went to high school with her. She was my first love. I was her first love, and we were together for a while. She became a famous model in Europe. I came to the United States to try a career, and I was able, thank God, to succeed. And eventually, she was in France. We did not reconnect for many, many years. And then eventually she broke up with her boyfriend, and I broke up with my wife. So I said, you know, maybe she was the one. So I called her, and she came back to the States, stayed with me, and we stayed together for many years. And then we realized that we were no longer the kids, you know, and time had passed. And but we still love each other. And how we managed to co-parent, you know, I think friendship. I think friendship plays a big part of the equation in a marriage. Your spouse has to be your best friend first. Someone you want to have dinner with, someone you want to talk to about your day, someone you want to share things with. I think it starts with friendship. That's what happened with her. Her and I were best friends. I was chasing her for 6 months, and she told me no, no, no. So I think friendship does play a big part in a marriage, and also common sense. I mean, when you have a child, you realize that she or he becomes a number one, and that's the bottom line. So you know what you have to do to make that child happy, and you realize that, okay, mommy and daddy are not going to be together. However, we will do what we can to be civil, and to be more than civil, because my ex and I, we go to dinner sometimes. My daughter just graduated 2 weeks ago. I took my daughter and my ex to dinner. I'm there emotionally and financially all the time. She doesn't have to ask. There's no. I realize that we don't need attorneys or anything like it. We have a different understanding. Maybe because we're French, I don't know, or European. We don't want to argue. We don't want to fight. You know, I don't want to fight with her. And maybe it has something to do with our personality. She's a very alpha female. I'm a very alpha male, but I had tendency to let go. I become passive aggressive, and then I'm really upset.
Yeah.
So she learned how to deal with me, and I learned how to deal with her. And I think we will always be there for each other till the end. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But we realized that, we're not 20 anymore, and we have to be with somebody else, and that's life.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how have you, as a songwriter, have you used personal experiences getting through tough times to influence you into writing a song?
All the time.
Okay.
For example, the first song I mentioned, "What Keeps Me Loving You," was about my first wife, Jennifer. She knows that was her song. I had another song called Maggie on my first album. There was a song that I wrote when my first wife and I went different ways. I dated somebody else named Patty, and I loved Patty very much so. But Patty, it was in early 90s, late 80s. Patty was a drinker, and she was a dancer, at a club,
right,
a stripper. So she was doing a lot of drugs, and I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. So I wrote a song about that. I wrote a song called Maggie, Queen of a Lie, Tears in the Night. Because the thing is, she was the queen of a lie. Because when you do drugs, first thing you do is you lie. So I did write a song about her. She knew it was her song, and unfortunately, she passed away from abuse. But as a songwriter, I think we all write a song. I mean, I should speak for myself. I write a song for someone or because of someone. Absolutely. I recently wrote a song for a movie called "Imagine That," and it's a very simple line. I looked around all my life, and all I had to do is look into your eyes, and I fell in love. And I realized love was just by looking in somebody's eyes. Sometimes you find someone, and it could be a coworker, could be whatever, and there's a moment where the two look at each other, and you realize, you're like, oh my God, this is the one. But that's what I wrote. Very simple lyrics. All I had to do is look into your eyes, and I realized I found love. So imagine that. All I had to do is, so the song came in a movie in March. It's doing pretty well. Yeah.
That's great. And when you start to compose a song, how does it work for you? I've interviewed a number of different musicians, and some people say the music comes first. Some people say a line comes first. Some people say the entire song comes to them in one big piece, and in 10 minutes they're done writing it. Where do you fall on that strange dichotomy of writing songs?
There's different schools when it comes to that, David. The first one would be the Elton John, Bernie Taupin vibe, which is different. Bernie would write a lyric and hand it to Elton John, who immediately, as he's so brilliant, he would come up with music. Well, I can't do that. I tried. I can't. I usually I get two ways of writing songs. I can walk in the streets or somewhere, and I have an idea, and I have a recorder with me all the time, and boom, here comes a melody. So 99% of the time, it's crap. It doesn't go anywhere. I'm like, oh my God, it's brilliant. No, it's not. It sucks. And then it's horrible. Anyway, so 99% of the time. But the 1% of the time, you're like, it's not bad. So you work on it. Most of the time, I would say I would pick up my guitar and strum a few chords, and then there's a melody that comes along. Then I would call one of my partners to say, hey, what do you think of this one? And if they like it, then we continue working on it. And I usually come up with a title. That's one thing about me. I usually come up with the title of the song, which makes it very easy for my partner, whomever I'm writing songs with, to continue writing the song with me. Like when I wrote the song of my first album, second album, When I Find Love, when I immediately, there was this title, When I Find Love, Let It Be You. oh, that's a pretty good line. Boom, boom, boom. And then my co-writer said, well, let's work on that. I tried to do the other way around. I wrote a song for, they had a disaster in 2018 in Japan. And if you remember, and I wrote a song for that, to raise money for them, for Japan. And the co-writer I was working with was telling me, oh, no, we come up with, we had guitars and everything and piano. He said, no, you need to come up with the line first. And I was struggling. I was like, well, it's not the way I write. So I came up with some good lines, but that was a big struggle for me. And I don't want to do it again.
Yeah. Makes sense. Now, going through the history, an abbreviated history of your music career, you first came to the United States with XYZ, and you did well with that for a while, but at some point, that band broke up. What was that breakup like? And is there any way to compare it to a breakup of a human relationship?
Absolutely. You can compare. I came to America in 1986, I believe. I didn't speak English, actually. I came to the country and 86, 85, 86, yeah. And I got jobs, odd jobs, I was a janitor, I was a driver, I used to clean toilets, I used to do all kinds of jobs that were disgusting to make money. And we were trying really hard to get a record deal. No one wanted to sign us, of course, like typical story, happened to everybody. Then we got signed. We did very well, thank God. And music changed. Nirvana came along in the early 90s and changed the entire spectrum. And we were no longer relevant. Promoters didn't want to hire us. So yes, it does feel like a breakup, because sometimes when you're in a relationship with someone, you want to be with that person and they don't want to be with you, so you feel rejected. Okay, well, the music scene was the same thing. I wanted to appear on stage. I wanted to perform, but promoters said, no, you're not relevant anymore. We're not going to give you your fee anymore. We're going to give you peanuts. Right. Fans didn't come to the shows. Fans also turned their back on us. We were not hip. So there was not just us. All the entire 80s music scene was dead. Early 90s, all my buddies were working at gas station or whatever, everybody did what they could, to survive. And it's like a breakup, because the person it's like when you're in love with somebody, you're married to somebody, there's two people, the person doesn't want you anymore. Well, you keep asking, why? What can I do to make it work? Can we work it out? Blah, blah, blah. And when it's over, it's over. Mm-hmm. The persons may grant you some time, said, okay, well, we can try one more time, but in their hearts, it's over. They know it's over. Well, the music scene was the same thing. We were completely rejected by promoters. Record company dumped us. I remember being on the road, being dumped like it was over, like an old pair of shoes. Oh, we don't want them anymore. Right. But we said, but we sold so many albums. You made so much money because of us. Irrelevant. It's a weird thing, because record companies, they really make a lot of money off bands. Let's face it, bands don't make a lot of money. It's the fame, the idea of being an artist and everything. So if you only count on that, you're not going to make money. You got to be smart. Mm-hmm. So we all got dropped. All the bands from my era, Great White, Poison, all the bands that sold 15, 20 million copies. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money for a record company, when you see that they were selling the CDs, between $8.99 to $14.99 when they came out. And you think 20 million album from some bands, although they have expenses and everything, you think about it, the record company made millions, and yet they dump you like your yesterday's news. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with a relationship. Your wife, your spouse is going to say, it's over. And you ask yourself, why? can we work it out? And they said no. And that's life. It's the same thing, the exact same feeling. You feel rejected, you feel remorseful. You ask yourself, maybe I could do better. What can I change? Can I change my hair? It's over.
Right. You mentioned Great White, and so I know years after XYZ got dropped, you went in, and now you're the lead singer for Great White. My question is, how did that feel going into another band, being the new guy in a band? I years ago I read a biography written by Sammy Hagar about him going into Van Halen, and I was fascinated by it. So I'm interested in hearing about it from you.
It's interesting. Well, your comment is interesting. It's a new relationship. It's your new wife. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, Great White was my new wife. I was completely in the band. I was dedicated to the band. My relationship was with the band and to the band. Was a new wife. It's exactly the same thing. My habits, my phone calls were told the guys all the time. I didn't talk to XYZ anymore. I mean, we were still friends because we liked each other, but the truth is, Great White was my wife. I mean, per se, I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
I established a relationship with the band, the crew. The roadies, the sound guy. It's a small circle, so we were all together, just like you said. It was a new relationship. Like, you divorce or you lost someone. Well, guess what? You just met somebody else, and you move on, and you're with somebody else. So.
Right.
It's interesting. I never thought of it, but yes, it was my new wife in a way.
Right. And then I understand that you are back with XYZ now. You're working with them again.
I'm doing many, many things. I realized that I worked with XYZ to release an album which hasn't came out yet because we disagree on the direction. Mm-hmm. We've changed. I've grown a certain way. They've grown a certain way, and I disagree with the direction of the band. It's funny. It's just like relationships. Like, I disagree with your hair. I disagree with what you're saying. You've gained weight, or I've gained weight. You know what I mean? It's exactly the same thing. So music is very related to to a relationship, men and women. Absolutely. I work with Great White, XYZ, but nothing has been finalized yet. I'm working on a Latin album. I'm releasing a Latin song in Spanish in August, and I'm also working for a company called Royal Caribbean, the cruise line company. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the headliner for that company, so I have a show with them, and I write music for film and TV. So I not stop, yeah. In fact, this afternoon someone asked me if I could write new songs for a movie. I said, yeah, absolutely, I will. Send me the script so I can get the idea of mm-hmm. what it's all about, and I'll dig into the emotions. The truth is, I cannot write just to write. I refuse to do that. If I don't relate to something, no, I can't write. Sorry.
Now, and so where can people find out more information about you and the music that you're putting out today? Where do they go on the internet?
Well, they go on the internet. My first and last name, which is Terry Ilous, Ilous, and of course Facebook, Instagram. I'm always on social media. Social media has changed people for some reasons, in a good way and a bad way. We were supposed to get closer. And for some reasons, I think it's the other way around. We're no longer connected. It's supposed to connect people, but I believe we're no longer connected. We don't communicate anymore. I see people with their phones and having dinner with the kids and family, and everybody's on the phone. Nobody's talking to each other, and it bothers me. And there's one rule at my house is, you can't use your phone when we're having dinner. Mm-hmm. Don't even bother. Even my friends are using their phone. I'm like, hey, I'm here. So social media is a good thing and a bad thing. And the funny thing, you're talking relationship. Social media has changed the way a relationship happens. Because if you think about it, people now use dating apps.
Right.
So they want to date somebody, they go on Match.com or whatever, you name them, and that's the way you meet somebody. Uh, do I like that? Not really. When I was separated from my wife, I went on apps like that, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Because there was no feeling, there was nothing. You look at a photo, say, "Oh, I want to meet that person," and you go, and it doesn't happen. For me, it didn't happen. It was a disaster. For some people, I mean, good for them, But I think I still believe in the old romance, dating somebody, a co-worker, or someone you meet at a bar, or someone you have interaction, an emotion, a glimpse, a look, something. For me, that's much more important than all those dating apps. But it seems to me like that's what people do these days. Even especially the younger generation, 18 and 20. I talked to some of my daughter's friends. My daughter just graduated, so she's 17, 18, and those kids go through apps to meet other boyfriend, girlfriend eventually. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
This is the way you're gonna meet your boyfriend? Oh yeah. I'm like, that's terrible. What happened to romance? I mean, I think romance is almost a thing of the past. I mean, I wouldn't say for everybody, but for me, love is the strongest thing in the world, that connects to people. Or people, for a husband and wife, of course. Oh, husband. I mean, I'm not going to get into that, but love is an amazing feeling. It's still the number one feeling for me. Finding love is the best thing in the world. There's no doubt about it. I see so many people having dinner, and a wife and husband, and there's no love. I can see that. There's no communication. They're just so routine, and that saddens me because they're wasting their lives. I saw my parents. My parents were in love till the end. My parents were in love with each other. When my dad passed in 2020 of COVID, my sister was next to him. She was wearing the mask and everything. His last words to my sister, my last words were, "Please take care of your mom." That says a lot. I'm like, wow. Now, but that's a true love. And my dad, I grew up in a house where my dad used to buy flowers to my mom every other week, or every week when the flowers were dead. My dad used to go to the market, the farmer's market, and bring my mom's flowers. We've always had flowers at home, although we were poor. We're not very rich at all, unfortunately, but we were very low middle class. But my father made sure that my mom was happy, was taken care of. He did the best he could, and she did the best she could as well. It was wonderful to see that. They were arguing like cats and dogs, of course, but because they are French, so it's the way it is. The French, they always have this vibe where you tell them something, fuck you, fuck you. That's the way they are. They smoke a cigarette, fuck you, I disagree with you, whatever. That's the way they are. But in the end, there was those two together, and I believe that's the ultimate way. When you find that special person, you're no longer alone in this world, and you have someone you can depend on, and she can depend on you, and you can do the journey together. And I think it's great. It's the greatest. Love is the greatest feeling in the world.
Well, you couldn't have summed up our discussion in a better way than what you just did right there. It's just explaining about your parents and how powerful love is, and the communication, and being able to rely on each other. Really wonderful advice for our audience members who might be wondering what's next in life for them. That's what they should be looking for.
Love what they should be looking for is love, instead of being lonely and staying home and watching TV about politics, argument, and everybody hates each other, divided and everything. I'm like, forget about it. You have somebody next to you who's a good person that loves you. You have your kids and everything. That's love. That's the most important thing in the world. All those politicians, all the whatever's happening in the world, it's not really going to affect you. What's going to affect you directly is the way you talk to your wife, the way she talks to you, your kids and everything. That is the most important thing in the world. Love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I wish you luck in the rest of your journey on the boat. I hope the seas are smooth and the shows come off great.
Thank you, David. You take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.